everybody. It's Steve, Hobo with Wood, and we are live. And that is the extent of my energy. I'm now drained, and we're going to go back to normal. Feeling a whole lot better. A lot of y'all asking, yes, feeling much better, but I've still got the stamina of a 90-year-old. I'm winded walking across the yard. So, getting there slowly but surely. Feeling much better, but no stamina whatsoever. A lot of the regular faces here. Glad to see you guys here. We got a small crowd today, and that's fine. These weekly midweek live streams, I don't expect a big turnout. Wasn't planning on doing it live. I spent the entire day yesterday recording and making these projects and learning, and intended to edit all that together and just have a video to share with you. But last night, as I wrapped all my recording and was saving it for the last time, saving, and then finally it quit and it come back and said corruption. Well, I still had all of the software open, still had all of the raw video there, and I said, well, I'll save that raw video and open it back up and then try again. And everything I tried, no matter what, I got to get better software, because when I try to record, and that's what this camera's sitting here for, it's trying to record the actual process. And it just this software I'm using just can't do it. At least it don't do it for me. Not hours of recording. So I got to find a better option. And really what I was hoping to be able to share with you is because I spent the better part of an hour and a half working on this one, bear crossing. And I got all the way down to the last tile, is what I like to call it, because it's kind of like some of the software I've used in my CNC software. They call it tiling. You create tiles and you engrave a certain area, and then you move it and you engrave the next tile. Well, I was doing the very last tile, and I screwed up in the print and cut. And I'm going to show you what to avoid here today. But I screwed up, and it caused my last tile to be off by about half of an inch. And ain't no fixing that. Half of the pawl was where it should be, and the other half of the pawl was a half inch below it, and big old gaps. And so I had to take my magic eraser and erase everything and start all over. But that was an hour and a half of engraving completely wasted, except for the fact I learned, don't do that again. And my magic eraser for this solid pine is a planer. 2 passes through the planer, and it was completely gone, and able to salvage the board and start over again. But I learned some tricks and some tips, and we'll share all that with you today about doing these 48-inch boards. And also share my thoughts about doing them and trying to do them for profit. I've got this bear crossing on this side, and I made this one with the thought of a friend who purchased a big old cabin up in the mountains, and he's got cameras up there, and he showed me some security camera footage of bears on his back deck. So it's a legitimate bear crossing. And I don't know if he has a hot tub on his back deck or not, but if not, he should. And if you got a hot tub out on the back deck, then that could be a bear crossing. And so I made this on the flip side, bear crossing. You got the streaker and then the little sexy silhouette and the bare feet, but double-sided, so you get 2 signs in one. But each side is taken on average about an hour and a half to do with this amount of detail that's on these. And I mentioned it in the first video where I did this one, the welcome. Now, the welcome doesn't have any artwork along the sides. It's just the letters. And that made doing the registrations a little bit more challenging because there were places that there just wasn't good points to select in the software and then move the laser to, because there weren't any points. They were all curves. So that's why this one has got the claw marks and I chose my fonts a little more carefully and that kind of thing. I'm going to share all those with you, and then some advice on planning your cut before you even turn the laser on. Have everything thought out and processed, even down to the point of selecting what's going to be your targets. Go ahead and getting all of those set up. So once you've done and you're planning your engrave, you're going to engrave this much, then you're going to move it. And you're going to engrave this much, and you're going to have all those pre-planned and thought out. And what is the saying? You plan to succeed, or lacking to plan is planning to fail, something like that. But I seen some comments in here before I get started. Carl says, I wonder if Leo/Rolly could make a back panel with a 1-inch high slot and the front high slot and the front lift with a similar slot, so we could feed the long board through the MK1 and MK2. It's there already, Carl. I've got the MK2 here, and that's why I had to twist. You see it's sitting sideways now, so I can have my board going out and I can support it down here. And I don't have the room coming all the way out here with anywhere to support it. So the last 1 foot of the engravings that I do with these, I actually flip the board and flip the image so I can still have it sticking out that way and just do the last foot. But here on the MK1 and MK, I don't know about the MK1, it had been set up exactly like this, but the MK2 does have the pass-throughs. This is the panel off of the back. Now I've already relocated my fan to the side, but this panel is below the output for the fan as it is. So on the MK2, you just got 4 screws to remove. This comes off the back, and then you take the handle off of the front, and you've got a 1-inch slot or 1-inch pass-through for the front to the rear. So it's already there on the MK2. I can't, been so long since I had the MK1, I don't remember, and I didn't use a pass-through if it was there. Oh, didn't mean to turn it back on. Let's see here. Well, right out of the gate, look at there. Thank you, Moon Dog. Good evening to you. I am feeling better. I need some new batteries. My batteries were overdrained. You know, those rechargeable batteries, once you drain them 2 or 3 times too far, they don't always charge back up. I need some new batteries. Let's see here. What software do you use to record for YouTube? Well, I use 2 softwares. I've been using Active Presenter to record my designing in Lightburn. Active Presenter has the ability. I run it through a video mixer that allows me to switch back and forth between here and here, and I can record all of that in Active Presenter, and I can even grab the camera from back here, and I record all that in a raw video, and I'll have maybe 8 or 9 clips, and then that goes into the DaVinci. DaVinci Resolve. And the DaVinci Resolve is really, really good. I don't have a problem with it. I'm having a problem with the Active Presenter. And I'm just going to have to, and it's free. That's the problem. It's a free software, and I need a few more patrons, and then I can afford to buy those subscriptions that are $30 and $40 a month to get some really good video editing software. But I've been having to use the free stuff. Let's see here. Well, Greg, you are here at the beginning. Nothing really missed. So I guess the MK1, I will have to cut the plexiglass. Yeah, I couldn't remember if the MK1 had the pass through. So you've got the one and you don't have the pass throughs. Or cross your fingers. Cross your fingers. You're in attendance for the live stream for the anniversary. I'm giving away a new rollie. Somebody's going to get a new rollie on my anniversary, and you may get one with the pass through. I don't know which rollie. We haven't committed to which rollie it's going to be yet. But who knows? You know, it should be at least the MK2, 20 watt. Will it be the 30 watt? I don't know. Will it be the extended one? I don't know if that one's going to be ready yet or not. I don't know. I don't know what he's going to do, but it should be at least the MK2 20 watt if it's available. If not, it'd be 30 watt. You might win one, and then you don't have to cut nothing up. And Moondog did a thank you. Thank you, Moondog. Thanks for all your hard work. I'm a patron and worth every penny. I've learned so much from you and downloaded some great files. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I'm really proud of the files that I put out there. I put a lot of work and time into the stuff. I haven't got the nightlight up yet. I'm going to get the nightlight up, and I'm going to upload these 48-inch porch signs. But about these 48-inch porch signs, if you're doing them with a Rolly or any desktop diode that's got around a 400 by 400 work area, as you're getting ready to see, I did these 48 inches, and I suggest trying to bite it off a foot at a time. So you're going to have at least 4 sections, 4 tiles that you're going to be engraving. And depending on the amount of detail you put in there, the more detail you put in it, the easier it is actually with print and cut to get things to line up properly. But the more you put in there, the longer it takes. And for me, each one of these bear crossings took about an hour and a half per side. So if I've got an hour and a half per side engraving, that's 3 hours if I do a double-sided sign. 3 hours of laser time for me at $25 an hour, $75. It's about $15 in material. 75, 85, that's $90. Not counting the setup and the artwork and the design process, that's about a $30 design and setup fee. That's now $120. That is what I would consider to be my cost or my time invested in just creating one double-sided piece. And if I was going to be retailing that at 120 times 1.67, yeah, that's $200 sign, you know. And if you times, you ain't going to sell it for that. But even if you took it at 20% off full retail, it's $160. You ain't going to sell it for $160 either. Not when you can buy these screen printed junk signs at Hobby Lobby for, you know, $15, $20. They're nowhere near this quality, but people don't see that. They look at you know, the price. So you got to be able to convey the quality of your work, the fact that it's customizable, it's personalized. If you want to make it a name, welcome to the Jones, whatever. But it's something to really consider. Now, this board was, I told you in the other video, it was, I think, a 8-foot piece of pine that I cut in half, and it was $25. $25 for this one, because I went with a premium white pine that has no knots in it whatsoever. It was flat, true, straight. So maybe you don't go with something quite so premium. And but then it's not as nice a finished product. But these things are time consuming. So take that in consideration if you're going to be trying to do it for money. If you're doing it just for the sheer enjoyment of doing it for you and family and friends, hey, knock yourself out. But there's a lot of time involved, and time is money. Looking at all these. All right, Desert Flowers. Does the Rolly do acrylic as far as engraving? I'm sure you can do some engraving. It's going to depend on the color, but I've not messed with much in the way of acrylics and diodes, because acrylics and diodes don't mix very well. And I don't. Right now, today we're talking about porch leaners and doing pass throughs. So, but no, I'm not a big diode and acrylic fan. Yeah, Carl, you get what you pay for. You do get what you pay for. And you know, if you stand them side by side, there's a noticeable difference between something that's really deeply engraved like this versus something that's screen printed on there. But you need to know going into it how much time you're going to have invested in making one of these. And you want to do one or two for yourself to get some practice. But what I'm going to show you here now will help you be as efficient as you possibly can, and also how to mitigate or minimize any chance of having it slightly off, slightly askew. Because the very first one I did, and these, well, you know what? Let's jump over here. You may or may not even be able to see it when I show you the actual photographs. Switch. Nope, wrong one. Switch back, switch here, switch here. And so this is the bear crossing. BEAR. Well, it won't let me scroll down. And this one is kind of okay, but if you look at the spacing between this bear claw on the side and here, how even it is. But by the time I got down here, look how far off it is, how close this one is, and how far away this one is. And you know, a fast runner will never see that. And if you put it on your front porch, I won't be able to see that from my house. But when I take it off the laser, I see it. It's glaring, and it's obvious. And I'm like, but it's perfectly perpendicular all the way down. But it's perfectly perpendicular askew all the way down. That was the second sign that I did. And now this one, I learned another trick. And you can see how the spacing is between the feet print and the edge at the top. And it's pretty even all the way down. So I learned a new trick on this one that I didn't do with the first one, that kept that more parallel all the way down. So I was happier with that outcome. This first one, this was the very, very first sign that I did. And it has the same issue, to where good spacing here and here, but as it got to the bottom, it was getting closer and further away. So I've used the analogy, or about trying to align your satellite dish. You move it just a little bit down here. By the time it gets to the satellite in space, it's 100 miles off. Same thing on this 48-inch board. If you start out just the tiniest bit askew, by the time you get 4 feet down, it's amplified, it's exaggerated. let's see here. Moondog says the price of timber is going sky high in the UK. Everything's going ridiculous. World's just going to hell in a handbasket. It's redonkulous. You just have to grin and bear it. Russ says, I have cut and engraved acrylic with my MK2, and all I can say is test, test, test. Yep. And the color makes all the difference in the world. And also cast versus non-cast, and there's all kinds of issues with acrylic and diodes. Thanks for all you do. I don't get to join a live as a rule. I love all your content. Gold here and worth it. Thank you, Bill. Thank you. Well, if you're gold and you've done this today too, very special. Thank you. Greatly appreciated. Hello, Jack. Let's see here. Greg says the bear must have got in the beer stash. Jerry's here. Hey, Jerry. I have some thoughts as to a design that keeps the board square all the way through. Fairly simple. Well, I'm going to show you what I did on my third board that made it perfectly square all the way through. And it is really simple. Yeah, and Jason has kind of got on the right idea. I set up a fence on mine so that I'm only moving the material in one direction, so repositioning for the next section. And that's part of it. That's part of what I did. I didn't set up a true fence, but that same idea. But before, in addition to that, making sure that it is perfectly square across the top of the board, making sure that that's a 90-degree angle. And then what I did was I set 2 registration points first at the top corner of each board, on my design. Then I moved the laser to each corner of the board and assigned those points to the laser, but before any engraving was done. So then as it starts its design and starts doing its, and it was on this one, it knew then it only needed to drop a 1/2 inch from the top of that line to start engraving this. And being that those points are square and those points are registered in the design with print and cut, everything is going to be moved from these 2 corner points. So even if the board did get slightly askew as you're moving down and you're registering new registration points, it's going to align everything according to where I started out square. That was the first time that I did that. The other 2 times I just framed the board and showed that the framing was, it looked like the laser was moving down each side of the board. But by adding those 2 registration points at the very beginning and assigning that laser to those points and setting up like a fence, in fact, you can see it sitting here. I just use a piece of olive wood that is squared up and in the corner of the honeycomb. And then I squared my sign right up against it. So now it was perfectly square, and I just sliding it up that side of that olive wood. Let's see here. What if you clamp a straight edge to the, yep. And that's, I didn't have to bother clamping it because the honeycomb's holding that in place. The honeycomb is square. It's squared up, and I put that olive wood right in the corner of the honeycomb and then butted the board right up against the olive wood and just slid it up the olive wood as I needed to move it. You can clamp it in place if you wanted to, but I didn't need to go that far with it. Craig's, are you getting darker engravings after running them through the planer? Nah, I don't know. I can't see that would make any difference. I did not engrave it prior to having gone through the planer because I actually planed it before I went through the first time and screwed it up and then had to plane it all off and start over again. So I never did an engraving on the wood uh, pre-planed. I didn't do any on this particular board. So I can't say for sure, oh yeah, it's different. Nah, but I actually don't see that it would be any different. Okay. And I don't know if you actually do you actually need to make something that, I mean, if you've got the MK2 and you've got the pass throughs, you know the pass throughs, they do not go all the way to the edge or the corner of the honeycomb. Um, so you wouldn't, you know, even if you just had a piece of scrap wood that was cut perfectly, it was all parallel, and you stuck it in the corner of your honeycomb and you just butted up against that. That's all I did. You know, I sometimes you can over engineer or overthink things. I like the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. And just putting a piece of wood in there that you can register off of, that works. All right, so let's jump over here to Lightburn and let's close this out. Close this out. All right, and Lightburn. All right, so here are, let's hide Greg, get rid of Greg. Go away, Greg. All right, so here is my initial design. And when I say you need to pre-plan your engraving before you even turn your laser on, this is what I'm speaking of. Let's get these out the way. So here is my complete 48-inch by 5.5-inch design. And if we look, I go in real tight. I've already put 2 little circles, and that's going to be my first registration point. And then that corner will be my next registration point. I do that, put my material in there, move my lasers to that point, assign that to the first target, assign this to the second target, and then tell it to align outputs with no scaling. And that's going to align, that's going to set up all future outputs from those corner points. So if you start out square, you should remain square. And it worked perfectly for me on my 3rd attempt. Now, for those who didn't catch the first episode or the first video of me doing that, what you do is you've got this little, I put a little circle in here and put it right in the center of that corner. The corner is in the center of that circle. So with the laser turned on, I jog my laser over here on the actual wood itself. And if you've played with your camera enough, you know that the thicker the material is, the more off your alignment, your camera alignment is going to be. Unless you've done like Dimitri has shown, you can calibrate your camera alignment for individual material thicknesses. So if you put in a 1/2-inch material, you can set up your programming or your camera alignment for 1/2-inch material, and you'll have a more accurate camera. I'm not going to go to the trouble of setting up a camera adjustment for all my material thicknesses. I don't use the camera I don't rely on the camera for that much detail. When it comes down to pinpointing that laser to that corner, I've got my wood on my laser bed. I turn on my fire button and jog that laser to that corner, and I physically see the laser on the corner and not what the camera says. Once I do that, then I select that circle, go into laser tools, print and cut, set first target position. Well, right now the laser's not on, so it's not letting me do that. So let's turn the laser on. And connect the laser. And I'm not going to go through this exactly everything precise. But if I know that the corner of the wood is right here, then I will jog that laser up with the fire option turned on. And then I can change my move functions, or the distance of movement, put it in millimeters because I like the fractions of millimeters. I can move it all the way down to a tenth or less of a millimeter, and use my arrow keys to jog that laser into position so that it's exactly on the corner of that board. Once I've done that, I'll move this design into position. Then I will select that circle, laser tools, print and cut, assign first target position. That's going to turn red to let you know that that is the first position. Then, if everything is perfectly square and you've got your material exactly square, I know that my material is 5.5 inches wide. Then I can just tell it to move 5.5 inches. The laser is going to move over here to that corner, and I would make sure that it's exactly on the corner. And if the material, you've already assigned your first position, you've already told the laser this is where that corner of that wood's at. So if you move that over 5.5 inches and it's not exactly on the corner of the material, don't move the material to the laser. Move the laser to the corner. Use your jog feature to jog that laser over. Then once you've done that, select that circle, go into laser tools, print and cut, assign second target position. It'll turn blue. Now you've got a dark blue here, and you've got a red over here. You've got two different colors, and at this point, you don't see anywhere that it says that it's ready for print and cut. It doesn't say print and cut's been enabled anywhere. Once you've set your first and second target position, then you go into laser tools, print and cut, and align output to targets, no scaling. Then when you do that, down here in the bottom corner, it says enabled modes, print and cut. That's where I screwed up on my earlier, when I messed up that after an hour and a half of engraving, I did not do that third step. I did not tell it to align in no scaling. I set the first and second target position, but I didn't do the third step in print and cut, and it printed everything off by 1/2 inch because it did not align it to those points. Even though I set them, I didn't tell Lightburn to align to those points. And that's where I wasted, an hour and a half more than that, because then I had to start all over, plane the wood out, start over it, and re-engrave it. So nearly 3 hours of the day gone because I failed to hit the. And actually, what I didn't fail to hit the button. What I did is I went into laser tools, print and cut, and then hastily, I already set my first and second position. And then I hastily clicked on what I thought was target scaling, no scaling, but I actually clicked on reset print and cut. Because when it screwed up like that, I was like, how did that happen? So I went back and watched what I did, and I went so quick that I inadvertently clicked reset instead of align to output. And that screwed the pooch. It was done. So be aware of that. Be cautious. Make sure you do first target position, second target position, and then align your output. And the difference between align your output to targets and align your output to targets no scaling. I don't know that when you're doing signs like this, I don't see why you would ever need to use the scaling feature. But when you're using print and cut for what it's intended for, if you've sent something to a printer and they printed it out for you, now you've got it back and you're actually going to use your laser to cut it out as sheets. You're doing decals, something like that. If they tell you, well, we had to scale it up by 10% or something like that, then you can then scale your original artwork, scale it up to match what the printer done for you. And that's why they give you the two different options. So you can, if someone else has scaled it for whatever reason, you can scale your output to match what's on there. And I don't know why they did it that way versus just, okay, you know it's been scaled, so scale it up to begin with and just cut it out. But that's the difference between the two. If you've created the artwork and you're making a sign, you're going to always use the no scaling. You don't want to, because if you do, you'll have part of it that you didn't scale up, and then if you do the scaling then it's going to be different sizes and doesn't line up. So always no scaling, and be cautious that you click here instead of here, because if you click on that, then your whole design's going to be messed up if you don't catch yourself. But now what I want to show you, let's see if I can go back. Will it undo? Nope, too far. The way you can tell if you are, well, one, you've got that green box down here. It tells you that print and cut is enabled. But in addition to that, I'm going to make this one the first target position. Then I'll move over here. Make this one the second target position. And it doesn't matter which one you do first, which one you do second, as far as right side or left side or any of that. You're just going to select your target positions. But what I wanted to show you is here you've got that red and you got a blue. Well, as soon as you do laser tools, print and cut, and you tell it to align, no scaling, watch the colors of those. You get a blue halo that encompasses both of those. So before you send the job to the laser for engraving, you want to make sure you've got blue halos around your target, and that you see down here that your print and cut mode is enabled. Because if it's not going to line up, and you're going to be kicking yourself, especially if it's the fourth tile of 4 tiles to engrave and you screw that one up like I did. There's a print and cut button on the dashboard. Yes, there is if you've got it turned on. Yep. And for those that aren't aware what Mark is talking about, over here I've got the shortcut for the rotary and the shortcut for print and cut right here. So you can, and that opens the print and cut wizard. And I've not used the wizard. I just prefer selecting it and doing it instead of using the wizard. But that is the button for print and cut right up there beside it, the rotary option. But if you don't have the rotary enabled, you won't have that rotary shortcut. And so, and I think you actually have to elect to turn on that print and cut as an option too in the menu. I'm not sure if everybody sees that. That's why I was going to laser tools, and also because I don't use the wizard. All right, so setting up those 2 corner points as your initial assignment of where your material is on the laser bed for engraving, and then aligning your project to those will help keep it square all the way down the wood as you move your wood up and down on the y-axis. The other thing that I was talking about is planning your cuts before you send the first cut to the laser. I think I can turn this off now. Yes, Chuck, you can use print and cut on a CO2. Because on my CO2, um, I think it's 24 inches by about 28 inches. So I couldn't get a 48-inch wood in there anyways, but I could do this in maybe 2 passes on the CO2 instead of four. But yeah, same process, exact same process. But planning your cuts before you even send it to the laser. I've got a 48-inch piece of material here, and I'm gonna if I divide 48 by 3, what is that? 16. And I'm not, and because of the camera alignment and the thickness of the material, throwing that camera alignment off, even though I've got nearly a 16-inch work bed close to it, you're not going to be able to get a full 16-inch cut out of this half-inch material. And since you're not going to, I said, okay, well, I'm just going to do 4 tiles. So what I did was I created a toolpath that was going to be 12 inches by 5.5 inches, 5.5 by 12. And that toolpath is where I'm going to put that right in the top corner there. I can get it where it needs to be. There. And then I'm going to look and see, okay, all right, on a 12-inch or a 1 foot pass, I'm not going to be able to get that A on 1 foot. But I do have enough room to where I can bring that down a little bit. And now I'm about 13 inches, and I can get 13 inches on my diode with this. So with that being the case, there's my first cut. And so now I can say, okay, so where's my registration points going to be? Now, I like to have my registration points or those alignment marks as far away from each other as possible. I feel like that's giving me a more accurate or a better chance of it being square. So what I look at is, okay, if I get all of that A and those claws in there, then I can use that point on that claw as a registration point, and yeah, that point as a registration point. Or I can come down here and grab that corner of the A and that corner of the A, but those being so close in proximity to each other, I like doing these up here. So I'll go ahead and draw me out a little target, small circle, and put it right on the center of that point. Duplicate that target. And same thing, put it right on that corner. So now I'm planning, those are already there before I've ever engraved anything. So now I know that's going to be my first tile. So now I'm going to grab this. I'll put it on the T1 so I can see it better and duplicate it. Control D, duplicate that path. And now I'm going to bring that down until I've got those targets that I just placed on those paw prints, which is there on that one. So, and on the bottom. So there. Those are going to be the distance, or there's a target, there's a target. And now if I make this back to 12 inches, I'm not going to get all the C, but I do know that I can bring it down to there, just still under 13 inches, and get all the C. But now that C is a curved line, there's really no good places to put registration points. So I'm back to my claws again. And so I'll go ahead and create another target. Put it there, duplicate it, Control D to duplicate. Oh, I just screwed the pooch on that one. Undo that. Now get the center of it. There we go. And bring it over here to the furthermost point. And that looks good. So now I know where those target points are at. So I'll duplicate the toolpath again, Control D, bring it on down. And that's going to get me all of that. But now I'm in the middle of that S. And if I bring this down, I'm now pushing 14 inches. I don't know that I'm going to have a 14-inch engravable workspace by the time I get everything lined up. So instead of taking the chance, I'm going to come up here and not even worry about trying to get that S. I'll get those two claws. Set up targets again on my claws. Get right on that point. There's a point on each of those. Duplicate it, Control D. Move it over again. Duplicate that toolpath. Now I know I've got the claws as my registration point, and I don't have any of the S. Bring that on down. Now I've got my registration points are in that area, and I'm getting everything but the last claw mark. And so now I know I'm going to need, then how many tiles? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm actually going to end up using 5 tiles or 5 passes to engrave that entire thing. So I would set up 2 more. Duplicate it, Control D. And that's good. And then you've got the last one to do. And as I said, for my setup, with the way I'm currently physically limited on my space, I've got plenty of place over here to support my wood to keep it level while I'm engraving. And that's another thing too. Make sure, depending on which laser you're using, if you're using the MK2, you're pretty good as long as you get the end of your board supported. But you grab your bubble level and lay it on your material in the laser area and make sure your work surface is level to keep from having any weird, funky things going on with your shape as you're engraving it. But I don't have the room or the support as I come out this side. So whenever I got to that last tile and I needed to, and actually it was probably the last 2 tiles, I just took my material, rotated, come on now, rotated. And I rotated that by using my less than key. Rotated it, rotated the image, took my board, flipped it around, and inserted it from the top into the bottom, and then engraved the last 2 tiles that way. That way it's supported. But by setting up, by looking at it, figuring it out before you even send the first tile to the laser, setting up those first points, registration points, all of that's going to help save you, because you're going to have to do all that anyway. And by taking the time to sit down right now and plan it out first, okay, and you got your designs figured out, you're going to save yourself some headache. Hopefully you don't forget anything like I did or hit the wrong button. But once you've got all that pre-planned and you've got your points, you know what you got to do. Now it's just a matter of setting your material in there, set those first 2 target positions, hit the start button, move your material, align those second registration points, assign it, Here's my first target. Here's my second target. Now align my output, no scaling. Hit your start button. It's going to do your next tile. And you have to, and here, someone asked about the text. All right. Here's a biggie. So if you're still with us, you're gonna enjoy, appreciate knowing this. Put that back. So if you select your text, you want to make sure if you're going to do vertical sign like this, you want your X and your Y, X, you want your alignment to be in the middle. And here's the difference. If I start out text right here and I do, come on now, let's make this bigger. We'll make this 4 inches, and let's make it something you can see really well. And all caps and bold. All right, B, come on. B, enter, E, enter, A, enter, R, enter, crossing, C, R, O, S, S, I, N, G. All right, right now, with that being aligned middle, everything looks really good. Your I's right in the middle of your N and your S. But if you've got your alignment set to not the Y, the X. If you've got your X alignment set to the left, your I is all your letters are aligned to the left side of each other. And so that's not going to look good. And you're going to be going, ah. So set your alignment on your X to middle. And that'll put all of your letters perfectly centered over each other. In addition to setting your alignment to the middle on the X, you're also, after you've got your design completely set up and you've got your text exactly spaced the way you want it, you're going to have to convert your text to a path. And if you're not familiar with how to do that, simple. You've got your text on here, right click, convert to a path. Then make sure everything is ungrouped. And why do you need to do that? Because you're engraving these in tiles. And if you leave your text as text, you're not going to be able to select each individual letter and say, well, I only want to engrave the BA. And then I want to do the AR. So you have to convert it to a path and make sure that it's ungrouped so that you can select individual letters. Once you convert it to a path, you cannot edit your text. So that's why I say make sure that everything exactly where you want it and spelled correctly, then convert it to a path. Otherwise, once you convert it to a path and you find a mistake, you got to go back, start your text all over again. Let's see here. Got Chuck there. Chuck also asked, where did you get the mount for the camera? Well, my camera that I'm using here is fixed in the rollie. On my CO2, I just used hot glue and glued the camera right to the lid of the CO2. And then did my camera alignment. But I put my camera dead center in the lid of the CO2. But you got to make sure it's the right camera for the right spacing and the right distances and all that. Then do your calibration. But I don't use, especially in something like this, I use my camera for initial positioning. And that's about it. If I've got a piece of scrap wood and I want to get some earrings cut out of some scrap wood, then I can use the camera to help know that I can position them right there. But then I'll frame it and make sure that it's exactly where it's going to be. I don't trust the camera I'd use it just for initial positioning. Um, well, thank you for hanging around as long as you did. I'm sure you're already gone by this point, but thank you, Terry, for being here. Uh, I'm sorry I got in this late. What does a registration point do for you? Okay. By assigning the registration point, the initial registration points, it's telling the laser exactly where the corner of the material is at. And by doing that, it's going to help you keep that keep it aligned all the way down the material. I showed them in the photographs. For example, this spacing is really, really good from here, there, the edge and edge. That's centered up pretty well on the board. But because I did not set my registration points in the corner of the material to begin with, as I came down, and light burn in the print and cut is supposed to, the next set of registration points you get is supposed to be registered to something you've already engraved, and it should adjust the engraving accordingly and keep you everything parallel and square. But here, as I got further on down, look at how close the M is and how far away the T is. And there were, I think, a couple of reasons that happened. But by starting, and this is it's overkill, but by starting, making sure the board's square to begin with, then starting with 2 registered points that you're going to start your engraving from here. That also tells it where this needs to be positioned in relation to the top of the board. If you don't set 2 registered 2 points to begin with, then you're guessing at where you're positioning this, and you might get that pretty close to where you wanted it, but by the time you get to the bottom, then it's really, really close to the bottom or really far away from the bottom. So by giving those 2 starting points, it just helps keep things square. And then creating that fence, if you will, or just putting a piece of wood that you can register this in and keep it square and parallel as you slide it through the laser. A combination of those 2 initial registration points and that fence keeping it square helps keep everything perfectly aligned. Like this one is the 3rd sign that I did, and the distance between this streaker and this streaker is identical. So this one was my best outcome of all of them. But the registration points, starting registration points, helps start it square, keep it square, and as you bring it down, you're engraving this much of it to begin with. So now you've got to give it 2 registration points on where it's going to pick up the design and continue it to here. Then you got to have 2 registration points that it's going to pick up again and move it down. So that's what the registration points are about in print and cut. Yeah, Ed, a lot going on here. I see it. A lot of people, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 things are learning, and I'm still learning on this print and cut. But this one is, I really feel good about the outcome of this one and how well it came out, perfectly square all the way down. Everything is lined up, and I feel good about that. So I feel like I've got a pretty good handle on this. So plan. Assign your first point, assign your second point, then make sure that you have aligned your output. No scaling. Look for that green indication down at the bottom that tells you that print and cut is enabled. That will ensure that it's everything you've done, all the processes, all the steps that you need to before you hit that fire button. Now, actual design tips. If you guys, and this was kind of cool on the bear crossing. this was the first design that I created, bear crossing, bear, animal bear. Now this is not a font. It's not text. That is a path. So it's not editable. I cannot change that. I can, however, duplicate it, Control D, duplicate it, and then hold my shift button and select my R. Well, the R is grouped in with all that. So now I need to ungroup a bunch of that. There we go. So select my duplicate E, hold my shift button and select the R and bullseye it. So I now move my E down there. Now the A, I'm going to duplicate that, Control D, select the E, bullseye it, and then take my R, which is going to be that, and then select that A and bullseye it. Nope, I got the E. I didn't get the R. Go back. Undo, undo. Let's get the R this time. Right there. Nope. Won't put that on toolpath. Sorry, I don't. Oh, that is the R. All right, so the R and that A and bullseye it. Now I can select that A, delete it, get rid of the triangle of the A, put that on the cut path, and select the E and delete it. Oh, I needed that triangle and that A. So I can undo, grab that triangle, and just put it up there where it needs to be. Get rid of that E. Put that on the toolpath. And let's move that over just slightly. And now I've added that from bear to bear. So the text was good. Now I just needed to change my artwork. So get rid of my claw marks. Uh-oh, got rid of too much. That was grouped and I didn't see it grouped. Ungroup it. And then I needed a bare foot. And let's see if it's in my clipboard at all. Yep, let's see here. Maybe it is, maybe it ain't. All right, nope. My streaker is. So there's my streaker. Trace it. Edit it down to size. Make sure it's centered up with the B. And I want to duplicate it. Control D, duplicate. I'm going to mirror it and move it down here to the bottom. Make sure it's centered with the G. And then I had the sexy one. Let's see here. Now here I'm gonna play with this one. Somebody mentioned it on the Facebook group that they needed to have one that was a fat man instead of a woman sitting here. And I said, okay, well, that ain't too difficult. We're gonna take this, trace it. Okay. Now we'll use you ungroup it, use node editing. Let's put it in align mode. We're going to get rid of the breastises. Select all those nodes and hit the D. And then we're going to, let's give him a big old round pot belly. Let's see here. I want to get it. There we go. See what that'll look like. That and weld it together. Well, that's pregnant. uh, that's the strippers in my hometown. Uh, but let's see. Let's get rid of her hair. Get rid of the long hair. So go back to node editing. And we're going to just grab all of these nodes right here. Hit the letter D. And we're going to bring this one on up to here. Give it a little bit of curve. And round out the head a little bit. Let's get rid of all these. But now it's a short-haired pregnant girl or a fat man. I don't know. But put that on a black layer. Edit it for size. Put it on the center line. Oop, didn't mean to do that. Need to group those back together. Group. Now center it. Now for the feet print. The feet print, I looked for a generic footprint online, and it's not on my clipboard. So let's see here. Footprint SVG. And let's see. I went with a two-parter. 3 images. I didn't like the actual shape, but I'm going to show you how I fixed it. Well, I'll just use these because I'm not going to use the actual one anyway. Copy image. I wished I had the one that I used. Paste it. Trace it. I'm going to trace. And I only had one image. I didn't want to do that. Come on, undo. Ungroup. And I use that as a way to create my own print. Just using the node editing tool to get the basic shape that I was looking for, and went with something like that, and then drew some nice ovals for the toes, group all that together. Then I started out with a footprint there. Then using the array tool, I want 2 columns. I need to reverse the direction because that was going the wrong. Nope, not there. Why are you going up? Shift by half. There we go. 2 rows. and I looked for a footprint on either side of each letter. And I do that by changing my spacing. And I should be able to do shift by half, not there, shift by half. There. Yeah, okay. It's just going up too high. Say okay. Bring that down. All right. Undo. Why are you doing this to me? Anyway, my brain is fried right now on making this happen the way there we go. And increase my Y spacing. Nope, still not giving me what I wanted. Okay. I'm going to ungroup that. That one, of course, I don't want. 1, 2. I don't need this one, or this one, I guess. Align the center, align the center. And align the center. Then, okay, there's the left foot. Well, this is the left foot on the wrong side, and that is 2. I only had 1 foot to go with, so I just grouped them and then mirrored it. And now that's a right foot. Then group that and that. Now with those, each pair grouped, select them both, group them, and then select the B and put it horizontal center. And now that's centered over the B and the A vertical or the horizontal center there, and then also centered up, and did the same thing all the way down with the CROS crossings. So anyway, all right. It says just got here. Go back and watch. Yep, I will do have it available on replay. All right. So any questions? Any questions? We're an hour and 15 in. We're going to cut this off at 90 minutes. Any questions? Nobody? Did I do that good? Wow. Okay. I'm going to put these designs on the website, both the bear and the bear crossings. Those 48-inch signs will be on hobowithwood.com, along with welcome with the rectangle. Welcome to the porch. For most, this is as far as you get. I will have all 3 of those sign designs on hobowithwood.com, in addition to the lamp. For those that didn't see it, oh my. Ouch. Sorry about that. That's the little night light lamp that I had on one of the other live streams, I think it was. I'll put that design on the website in addition to the 48 inchers. Okay. Well, Richard, thank you for coming. Thank you for hanging out with us. Emma, you are in time just to hear the theme song, the Hobo with Wood theme song. Spent a lot of time and energy and money developing this, and I got to start using it more and more. But thank you everybody for being here. Thank you for tuning in. Nobody had any last minute questions, so hopefully I was clear and concise and you didn't get too lost in it. But so if you don't have your Rolly laser yet, hobowithwood.com/Rolly. If you're going to purchase your laser, if you use that link, it'll take you directly to their website. It'll let Leo know that, hey, I helped influence your decision on buying one of these things. It is, as far as I'm concerned, the best diode laser on the market right now. And they've got new ones coming. They've got the extended version coming. They're 40-watt coming. And on my second anniversary live stream, I will be giving away a Rolly laser. So if you don't have the funds to spend on one, or you'd rather take a chance, and of course, all you got to do is be present, and somebody's going to go home with a new Rolly laser. That'll be on, I think, May 15th, I think is when it was. Is that right? Or May 16th? May 15th is a horrible day for me. I hope that's not the same time. Let's look at my calendar, because I'll always forget. I don't remember what live stream is going to be when without looking at my calendar. Let's see here. June 15th, not May 15th. June 15th, 3 p.m. Set your calendars. Somebody will be going home with a brand new Rolly laser. But if you're like, okay, I never win anything, go to hobowithwood.com/Rolly for all your Rolly desires and needs. Even if you're only getting the jig table or you're getting the side exhaust, anything you need to pick up, you use that hobowithwood.com/Rolly. It'll take you to the website. You can get what you need. Okay. Let's see here. Hello, Stacy. If you're just getting here, you got here just in time for me to go home. Yep. Sorry for the tardiness. You was designing. I'm good. Yeah, June 15th. All right, guys. So Stacy, you want to go back and watch this if you're going to be wanting to make these 48-inch porch leaners. In fact, I'll show, for those who are the late bloomers, late comers, I'll show you the photographs that I showed everybody. It's a whole lot easier to see the photographs. That was the first sign that I did, and there was some small imperfections in it that I didn't care for. But welcome to the porch. For most, this is as far as you get, and it's got the little rectangle there for the O. Nope, wrong way, Conway. And then Bear Crossing, Bare, and that is the flip side of Bear Crossing. Those are the front and back of the same board. And I'll have these designs on hobowithwood.com hopefully before the end of the day. I'm still getting my mojo back. Bill, my times are Eastern time. So June 15th, 3 p.m. Eastern time. So if you're Central, 2 p.m. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here. Thank you for tuning in. We're getting out of here 10 minutes early. Just one last chance. In fact, we got 10 minutes. Are there any questions about the 48-inch signs and the feed through and the print and cut, or any questions in general? We got 10 minutes. Any questions? Because I was really slack for the last 2 weeks in getting back to people on emails and comments. But for most of them 2 weeks, I was asleep. Nothing? All right. Guys, thank you for your support. If you're not a patron, please consider becoming a patron. If I get me a couple more patrons, gold level patrons, I'll get me some software that'll allow me to start recording this stuff instead of doing all this live stream. Because I was really wanting to show you that screw up. But I was not even able to save the recording part of to show you how I foobarred that and wasted all that time. Consider becoming a patron. Patreon.com/hobowithwood.com or hobo with wood. Greatly appreciate all my patrons. Thank you for your support. And as usual, we're going to end the stream and wait for this.